This week, we have a lot of crazy shit in the astrology, and we go from really deep and emotional and emo to kind of like just being goofy and silly. So this week, we have Venus squaring Saturn. Ow. We have Mars trining Neptune, delusional. We have Mercury opposite Uranus. You're going to say something. You're going to bring up the secret no one wants you to bring up. We're going to have Mercury trining Neptune. You're going to lie. We have the new moon in Scorpio. We're getting lockjaw, and we're going to feel some type of way. We have Mercury trining Mars. We have Mercury sextiling Pluto. We have Mercury going into Sag, and we have Mars going opposite Pluto, and we have Venus going opposite Jupiter, and we have Mars going into Leo. It's a lot of shit this week. So we might as well get started talking about it. So welcome back to the Astrology Report. My name is Cam White. If you don't know me already, I'm a professional astrologer. And today I'm looking a little too cool for school because maybe I am, because I'm a 28-year-old adult male. I am a little too old for school. Anyway, we're talking about October 28th through November 3rd of 2024. And we have a lot to talk about this week. This week goes from like really deep to just kind of good, kind of great, to be honest. I really like the end of this week. But I'm just in a little bit of a silly mood. We're just gonna be a little silly, okay? I want you guys to all be silly. I think things are really serious, and so maybe we should just be clowning a little bit. Cameron from the future here. I forgot to mention I am doing one last sale on my consultation. So if you are a new client and you have not booked with me before, I'm offering $100 off my consultations from now today that I'm recording this. Is Friday, October 25th. Till November 3rd, so the next weekly. I'm offering $100 off for new clients as well. If you're a previous client, you guys are also getting an additional $25 off of your already majorly discounted price for consultations. And this is probably going to be the last time I do this because in 2025, I do plan on closing my books to new clients, and they will only be available to previous and returning clients as well as members over on my website. So if you want to get a consultation with me, if you want to get a consultation with me, I'm putting a huge discounted price right now. It's going to be available for the next week, and it may not be available to you much longer in the future. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and check out the website. Link in the description. We'll add it as a comment as well. But like I said, $100 off, so $325 for your first consultation. I would book also a little bit sooner than later because of this. I do think I'm going to get booked out a little bit farther in advance than I usually am. So if you want to secure your spot, go ahead and look into that and enjoy the fun weekly video I made. Okay, so Monday, like I said, we have a lot going on this week, to be honest with you guys. All right, so check this out. Monday, Moon is going to be in Virgo. It's going to make a square to Jupiter and Gemini, and then it's going to sextile Mercury, still in Scorpio. And then it's going to go trine Uranus, opposite Neptune, trine Pluto, and then the moon goes into Libra. And in between all of that, we have Venus making a square to Saturn as our first highlight, and we have Mars trining Neptune as our second highlight. So I typically write notes for how I think I'm going to go about this so I don't just like waste my breath forgetting what I actually wanted to say. But these glasses are really, really dark, so we're gonna try a little bit harder here. Okay, so the biggest thing I wanted to bring up on with the moon in Virgo squaring Jupiter is it's kind of like overthinking, but what I mean by that is the moon in Virgo makes a sextile to like Mercury and Scorpio. Like we really just need to focus on one thing, but the moon in Virgo squaring Jupiter and Gemini is like, but what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And it's like, no, shut up. But like, I just need to concentrate on this one thing. I don't need to know, it's like just being distracted on social media. Like my Instagram algorithm doesn't even know what to do with me anymore because I'm not scrolling. Like I'm not scrolling my Instagram anymore, and it's just like trying to serve me up so many random things that I'm not into. But it's like, do you like this? Do you like this? What about this? Do you like this? And I'm like, no, I don't. But here's the deal. There's going to be more of an energy of focusing on one solution. Like on Monday, moon's in Virgo. It's better for, again, being a little bit more organized, but with its sextiling Mercury and Scorpio, we should be a little bit more detailed, focused in, and not being distracted by all the loud noise that's going on. And then, of course, when the moon does go trine Uranus, opposite Neptune, trine Pluto, it's a little bit of that emotional pinball that I was talking about, a little bit more of that bigger picture stuff that I've been talking about over the past few weeks as this happens when the moon is at the last degrees of the earth or the water signs at this point. And then the moon goes into Libra. Of course, you should just balance things out and relax a little bit. But to be honest with you, I just feel like the moon in Libra, I genuinely think chills things out for 5 seconds. I think that this moon in Virgo transit is a little anal, a little bit more anal than normal. But once the moon goes into Libra, it's like, all right, cool, chill. But that's for 5 minutes, and we'll talk about why that is on Tuesday. Tuesday, the moon in Libra is not the moon in Libra. But we have Venus squaring Saturn. So Venus squaring Saturn. Venus is in Sag, Saturn's in Pisces. I have two delineations about this. Number one, it's totally no. It is like, have you ever, everyone can relate to this. Everyone. Have you ever been on a date, or you thought you were on a date, or you're talking to someone you're attracted to? It's going good. You guys have the vibe down. She's laughing at your jokes. She's, like you think she's into you, and then you kind of make a move and she's like, oh no. And you're like, what the fuck? What are we doing then? Like, what was I reading it wrong? Like, what was going on? That's a Venus square Saturn. It's just like nope, that's not happening. But another way I could look at it is like Saturn in Pisces is so, like the last time Saturn was in Pisces was when you had like all the Alice in Chains, fucking Soundgarden, like music coming off and stuff like that. And it's just kind of emo in a way. And Venus and Sag is like, hey, we can have fun. We can have fun at the mental asylum, by the way. Like, I don't know if I've gone to a mental hospital, and a lot of people are suffering, but we're having a lot of fun at the same time. And so I just feel like Venus and Sag squaring Saturn and Pisces is, you got to lighten up a little bit. You got to lighten the mood up. There's no, like, what is life being too hardcore and upset about everything? And so Venus and Sag squaring Saturn is, number one, there is some sort of rejection. That's what Saturn does. And it's Venus. It's about love and connection. So there's this rejection with connection, kind of like conjunction, junction. What's your function? But rejection, connection, rejection. So anyway, no fun, run away. It's also kind of running away, but you can't run away. I've told you guys that before. We're all adults here. There's no more of that. Okay, and then we have Mars trining Neptune. And here's the thing. Like, Mars trining Neptune is so, like, some of you guys romanticize your pain and your trauma. So, like, half of you guys don't really have that much trauma. Like, I found this meme. I wish I could share it to Parker so we could have it, but it's like, people are like, I have religious trauma, and their religious trauma is like this genuinely decent church that like they were just like say like, hey, praise God. It's just like, I feel like a lot of you guys really over romanticize it a little bit, or I should say maybe blow it out of proportion. But Mars in Cancer trining Neptune, I do feel like is like over romanticizing the pain. Now that could be good. That could be good. That could be a motivating factor, right? Like, for example, if you have it really good in your life, you might be like, oh, well, I have it so good, so I'm not allowed to actually feel bad about anything. And that's not true. You're allowed to feel bad about whatever you want. But if you're listening to what other people say of like, oh, you can't feel bad about stuff, and then it's like, well, then you're not going to feel bad. So, I thought I turned these lights on. I turned these lights on and it didn't work. Hold on. There we go. That's way better. Now we got a little bit of life going on here. So Mars trining Neptune, it's a little delusional, but it is good for creativity. Like, Mars is action, fights, doing shit. It's fallen in Cancer. It's more so like stuff that we have to do that we don't really want to do. And it's trining Neptune. There's something visual about it. There's something creative about it. Basquiat had Mars retrograde in Cancer. He was pretty good at making art. I don't know where it ruled in his chart. But Mars trining Neptune, I just really feel like is also confusing, like what we should be doing. Like, I don't know what to do. I've been feeling that way lately. Like, I'm just like, I have so much to do, and I'm doing this. I'm playing dress up for YouTube videos. So that's how life's going for me. Okay, we get to Tuesday. Boy, if you have a date on Tuesday, or there's just something about Tuesday. Have you ever like hung out with a friend and you guys hang out and you're just kind of like, actually, I don't really want to hang out with you right now. Like, I don't know why I chose this. The moon, all we have going on Tuesday is the moon conjoining the South Node. You're going to be tired, especially around people. Like, you're just not, it's just going to be one of those days where you're like, just shh. I don't want to, stop talking. That's Tuesday. Okay, Wednesday's fun. I like Wednesday. Is that Halloween 28, 29, 30? No, Wednesday's not Halloween. Here's what's going on Wednesday. The moon is going to be in Libra, and it's going to sextile Venus and make a trine to Jupiter. Great. The moon's going to be in between benefics. Wednesday's looking great. I like Wednesday. But we also have a highlight, which is Mercury's going to go opposite Uranus. And that's kind of an issue. The moon is going to be sextiling Venus and Jupiter, so there's a lot of lighthearted fun here. To be honest, it's like just the moon in Libra, as I think it's going to sextile Venus first, which is going to be like, all right, like, hey, we're having a little fun. Like, let's be adventurous. Let's go and do this thing we've never done before. And the moon trining Jupiter, I think, is, again, being able to express that. It just looks a lot of fun. My only concern is this Mercury opposite Uranus situation. Have you ever been in a situation where everyone's having a good time? we're all chit-chatting. We're all, you know, making fun of each other. And then just someone takes it way too seriously and takes it way too personal. And they're like, actually, and you're just kind of like, shut up. Like Mercury opposite Uranus is you're going to trigger someone. And it's kind of like one of those things where for example, let's say the moon was in a worse position. Like the moon was with Mars in Cancer. Then I'd be like, okay, this doesn't look that fun. I think everyone's a little bit butthurt. This is like everyone's having a good time and then Mercury goes opposite Uranus. Or like, for example, have you ever had a good time and then accidentally said something that maybe you shouldn't said? Or like, oh, that was supposed to be a secret. That's kind of the vibe. And it's like, oop, the cat came out. You had a little too many drinks. You're like, all right, I'm going to, like, you know, I always love when people say, like, the people that are like, can you keep a secret? And they're like, yeah, those are the people that can't keep a secret. But that's the point of secrets. They're so fun. I'm sure all the Scorpios just went, because you guys just don't tell secrets at all, and heaven forbid. But I'm just a Sagittarius. I'm just all fire and air. I'm like, drama, fun. Anyway, on Wednesday, here's the deal with Wednesday. I think let's get personal development. Let's get serious here. Okay? With the moon in Libra, there's a focus on relationships. Sextiling Venus. There's something about fun, outgoing, just feeling excited about something, right? You should be excited. It's how you got to get manifesting shit. I think about Mercury and Scorpio as like, again, like we're really in our heads is probably the easiest way to put it. And when I say in our heads, it's kind of like I just walked to the 7-Eleven to get this Coke Zero. Shout out Coke Zero. And I saw this woman ate shit. I was literally walking right behind her, and we're at a corner, and she goes to turn the corner, and you know how like there's kind of like those like, you know, like wheelchair accessible ways of the concrete, but then like it'll have like a concrete corner that's raised up. I mean, she's not even paying attention, and she just turns, hits it, and I mean, she fucking ate shit. Like I was kind of like, damn, like she kind of tripped, and I thought she was gonna save it, and then I mean, it just got worse and worse. So she face planted on the ground. I was like, damn, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm just embarrassed. And I was thinking that whole time, like the only way she would have ate shit like that was that she was just focused on something else. She was not physically there. She was somewhere else. And I look at Mercury and Scorpio as that, is like, you might be there in the present. Like right now, like I'm here I'm recording a YouTube video. I'm talking to you personally, one-on-one, because that's the parasocial relationship. But I'm somewhere else. I'm thinking about my problems. I'm thinking about my life. You know what I mean? That's Mercury and Scorpio. And it's going to go opposite Uranus, where you kind of just go like, ooh, whoops. Like, have you ever also realized you do something? You're kind of thinking about something. You're just letting things, you know, you're just mewing on things. And all of a sudden you realize, oh shit, that thing from childhood or from 5 years ago is the reason I do X, Y, and Z. Why the fuck do I do that? That's kind of the vibe of Mercury opposite Uranus. So there is a little bit of a disruption with Mercury opposite Uranus. There's a little bit of a mental trigger, so to say. I don't know if I would call it a breakdown though. But what I think is really important about this is like, or for example, have you ever had a therapist that just said something, you're like, whoa? Or like, again, you read something about your chart, or I maybe said something prophetic, as I always do, and you were just like, that's just the Mercury opposite Uranus stuff. Okay, let's talk about Thursday. So the moon at the end degrees of Libra makes a square to Mars. Ow. That's not feeling too good. Moon in Libra makes a square to Mars in Cancer, then the moon goes into Scorpio. And then Mercury trines Neptune as our highlight for Thursday. So Parker, I want you to put in the part of the Joe Rogan podcast with Jordan Peterson where he talks about the dark triads, and he's like,
vampire, werewolf, pirate, surgeon, billionaire.
On Thursday, when the moon goes into Scorpio, and we have this new moon in Scorpio, like the dark triad energy is high. So here's the deal with the dark triad. I had to Google this real fast just so I can remember. Like, I know it, but like, okay, so the dark triad is Machiavellianism, a tendency to be manipulative; narcissism, a tendency to be excessively self-important and grandiose; and psychopathy, a tendency to be callous, impulsive, and thrill-seeking. That's the vibe for Thursday and Friday. Like, we have to be, I shouldn't say we have to be, we're going to be a part of our dark triad. Like, again, like what I told you guys, we're in the villain origin story stuff here. We're in our villain arc. Like, what, you guys think you're not going to be a villain? You know what I mean? And so the reason I say this is, like, number one, the moon in Libra squaring Mars in Cancer. In my Mars retrograde video, I talked about The Incredibles as an analogy, and think of Syndrome when he was like a kid and he like fucking just Mr. Incredible's like, shut up, kid, like you can't be a superhero, sorry. Like, and then Syndrome's like, and then like, turns into an evil villain. That's kind of the vibe on Thursday. But then the moon goes into Scorpio, where again, we're kind of sinking in that feeling. But here's the good news. Like this is what I'm so looking forward to, this new moon in Scorpio. You want to know why? And again, this is Halloween, right? 28, 29, 30, 31. Halloween, Thursday. You know why I'm looking forward to this new moon in Scorpio? Because it lines up with the new moon. It lines up with the beginning of the month. And when we think about the Scorpio stuff, like, I wish I could pull up the chart right now for my own sake. Mars is in shadow, okay? We have a lot of Mars stuff to do, as I talked about in the Mars retrograde video. Now we're in Scorpio season. Now we're in the new moon in Scorpio. So this new moon, this lunation is focused on Mars stuff. And what happens this week? Mars goes opposite Pluto. Mars goes into Leo this week. We need to, again, like, I can't use the title of lock in every single week. I feel like we should be locking in every day. Why aren't you locking in? Whoops, there we go. Why aren't you locking in? But the idea here is like, you gotta feel it. You gotta like be in it. I plan on jumping into it. Like, sure, it's Scorpio season right now. That full moon sucked, but this is like, we are in the shits. We're in the shits. Get in your dark triad moment. And again, when I say that to yourself, because the other thing is Mercury trines Neptune. Some of you, I'm being 1,000% honest, and I think we could all. I'm being honest here. Some of you guys are liars, and you lie. I would argue a lot more of you lie, and you probably are worse people than you guys think you are. I don't think you are. I think you're good people, but objectively speaking, you're probably actually worse than you think you are, and that's okay. I'm probably super terrible, even though I'm great and everyone's just wrong. But Mercury in Scorpio trining Neptune is so good at lying and deceiving. So here's two ways that we can look at it. Number one, if you just need to lie, and if you're just going to lie and even though you're a child of God, and in the year of our Lord 2024, I feel like you can't get away with lying at all anymore. There's no fucking point to that. You're gonna lie. Good day to manipulate. Again, if you want to be, this is the dark triad moment. Machiavellianism, a tendency to be manipulative. Be manipulative. Go for it. The green light there. Narcissist. Why not? Throw in some narcissism. Everyone. By the way, every time I've heard someone describe someone as a narcissist, I immediately just think, oh, so you're actually the narcissist, not whoever you think it is. Because that word is just thrown around way too much. And again, you guys literally need to drop the DSM. You absolutely need to stop analyzing everyone's psychology. You don't know what you're doing. And these words you're making, when you say narcissist for every guy that you've ever dated, you are legitimately delegitimizing that fucking word. And now it doesn't mean anything. Like, we have there's bigger words in the dictionary. Anyway, or again, psychopathy, a tendency to be callous, impulsive, and thrill-seeking. Be a little thrill-seeking. But again, when I say this, I'm not actually encouraging you guys to be this way with people, but be it with yourself. Like Mercury and Scorpio trining Neptune, I think also is be aware of being deceitful of other people being lying to you. Like if you go to the used car salesman and he's like, dude, this car is great, and yeah, we've locked in your interest rate at 4%. Like, come on, that's a lie. You know that's a lie. I have another. I don't. Nah, we're gonna leave that joke. We're gonna put that. We'll save that joke for later. I had another one, but anyway, Mercury just trining Neptune. I think the other thing though is when I say like be deceitful to yourself is like genuinely, like I've told you guys before, like how bad does it have to be? How bad does it have to be in order for you to get your shit together? And there's a part of like fixating on the pain, fixate on how shitty things are, and ask yourself, how do I want to feel this way again? Probably not, but you will if it's not bad enough to do something about it. Like for example, when you touched the hot stove as a kid, that hurt, and you probably went, God damn, I ain't never touching that shit on purpose again. Maybe one more time just to double check. It's kind of like when something smells bad. That's another thing. Scorpio rules smells, and it's like when something smells bad, you're like, oh, and then you're like, smell it again just to double check. Anyway, we're having fun here today. Moon goes into Scorpio. I don't think this is going to be good for being nice. And I do think Mercury trining Neptune is going to be making up stories. I would argue this is much better to be delusional about like literally working on yourself. Because again, like I think especially too during this election time, everyone's all triggered and butthurt, as we saw in my live stream. Boy, but what's the story that you're telling yourself? Like, are you telling yourself the story that like, oh, I can't do it because of X, Y, and Z? Or are you telling yourself the story of like, I can do it because of XYZ. Like, that's the reality of Mercury trining Neptune. Like, you're either going to you're either going to make a mental prison for yourself and lie to yourself as if it's real, or you're going to be like, I'm greater than everyone. But that's not a bad thing. Like, it really isn't. So many of you guys have the shittiest self-belief systems that, like, I'd rather you just lie and genuinely be a narcissist at this point. I mean, you guys already probably are narcissists, but like, be like, I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. I'm moving on to the next day. All right, Friday we get the new moon in Scorpio, okay? And it's trining Neptune. This is, again, like, let's get clear about what we're doing. Let's get clear about where we're going. Let's act, like, again, get quiet. Get quiet, sit with yourself. What are you doing? And when I say this, it's the Mars in Cancer stuff. Like, Mars is about to go opposite Pluto. You guys have some shit to fucking face. I have some shit to face. I don't want to face it. Do you? I don't. But the new moon in Scorpio is like, well, tough shit. You're like, if you got a cut on your leg, it's starting to get infected. Do you want to amputate it? You're going to have to go to the hospital at some point. Get over it. You're going to have to go see the doctor. Probably not as bad as you think. But this whole, like, it's not just like a new moon in Cancer. It's not a new moon in Scorpio. Like, oh, the energy's low and it's a time to reset your intentions. Like, this isn't a time to reset your intentions. This is a time to you've got this shit you got to deal with. You got this big pile of mountain of shit and you've got to deal with it. And the Scorpio stuff is like, it sucks. It's not fun. And it's Mars in Cancer opposite Pluto. You kind of have to, it's not even just like, oh, it's not fun. It's like, there's actually some deep-seated fear that you have about this. That's the new moon. And so this is why I was saying it's like dark triad moment. Like, you might have to be evil villain in order to just do that. And when I say evil villain, I don't mean actually be evil. Be a good fucking person. That's why we're all here, right? But the idea here is just, we need to, again, these are the luminaries. This is our willpower, our vitality, and our emotions, and our internal energy getting to a low spot. And it's in Scorpio where it's like, I don't have a choice. I use hoarders as an analogy all the time. The shit's piled up. You got cockroaches going inside of your ears and your nose. There's one woman who had buckets of shit and piss everywhere. The city was condemning her property. She was like, la, 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 la. Like it wasn't even real. And her family was like, the city has condemned your building. They're going to come here and destroy it. Like, that's the energy, okay? On Friday. It's really about, I would take it super seriously. It's November 1st. What do we have to lock in with? And let's just get real. And again, I think, because this winter's this winter is a fucking big deal, okay? Like, I wish I could just be like, oh, it's just a new moon and we move on. It's like, no. Look at the astrology. This winter's, I don't want to say it's ass, but everything changes and we have this Mars retrograde initiatory process. And that's what now we're in it. You signed up for this. It reminds me of, like, I mean, I've never been in the military. I've never tried out for the Navy SEALs, but apparently in the Navy SEALs, it's like, they just fucking torture you. They just straight up fucking torture you. And it's like, yeah, this is what you signed up for. You got to go through this in order to be the cool guy Navy SEAL dude that gets to write books and go on podcasts after you did something. All right, I've been yapping for a minute now. Let's move to Saturday. Okay, Saturday is nothing but bangers. Mercury's going to make a trine to Mars. That is going to be a highlight. Second highlight, Mercury sextiles Pluto. Kind of the same thing in my opinion. Second highlight. Third highlight, Mercury goes into Sagittarius. Yap City. And then the moon will go opposite Uranus. Okay, so here's the deal. Mercury in Scorpio trining Mars is that one friend that's honest with you about, like, what's going on. Like, Mars and Cancer is like, blah, 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 blah. Mercury and Scorpio is just kind of like, yeah, you're kind of the bad guy here. You're like, this isn't, no. I like Mercury and Scorpio trining Mars and Cancer. It's kind of like, it's bad when your best friend says something. You know what I mean? And it's really getting to the point. And the other thing too is, like, I'm all fire and air. Us fire and air people, we know how to talk. But I feel like only water sign people can talk to water sign people, if that makes sense. Like they just know how to, like, get to a certain point with them. And I feel like that's what's kind of happening on Saturday with the Mercury trining Mars. It's like, oh, whoops. People, or for example, your significant other, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, whatever, your wife, has probably been telling you something for a long time. And you probably have been like, yeah, whatever, like, you don't listen to it. And then someone else says it, and you're like, whoa, holy shit, that's so true. I should do that. But, like, someone who's close to you in your life has been saying that for a long time. That's Mercury trining Mars. It's literally just like, hey, yeah, you need to actually take care of that. There's some sort of line of communication that's really honest, and it's brutally honest, and it's true, though. And again, Mercury sextiles Pluto at the same time. I just feel like that doubles down on the same thing. It's like, yeah, like can we bring up the elephant in the room? But Mercury goes into Sag. Yap, 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 yap. Boy, Mercury rules counting things, and we're about to go into this election where, you know, you have to count stuff, and Mercury's going to go into detriment where it's like, oh yeah, like for example, on next week's, I'm going to talk about like, I don't think we actually get the election results until, what was it? I think the 4th, 5th, 6th, I think until the 6th, and it's going to be like someone just blurts something out, and it's, even though it's not real or true, at that moment someone just blurts it out, and then we go from there. But that's besides the point. Mercury goes into Sag. It is yapping time, but it's one of those things too where the moon, what I find funny about Mercury going into Sagittarius is the moon's in Scorpio going opposite Uranus, where it kind of comes back up into this Mercury and Scorpio thing where we're going to kind of say something that triggers someone. Like, we're all having a good, like, I make jokes all the time. I joke about everything. I feel like all jokes are, there's no joke off limits in my opinion. And yes, I do mean that. But some people, they just get really triggered and butthurt. They're like, hey, that's really mean. Like, yeah, it is mean. Like, it's funny though. Like, let's all have a good time and laugh about each other. And I just feel like Mercury and Sag is like, you know, and even people, like everyone can agree with this. Hey, lock in camera. There we go. Everyone can relate to this. Like, there's just a certain person that you know in your life that you just can't joke around. Like, you can't say certain things. But Mercury and Sag is like, you forget about it and you just say it anyway. And they're like, hey. Or again, maybe you're that person. Maybe someone's just like saying things willy-nilly and it hurts your little feelings. And you're gonna have to suck it up. That's Saturday. It's a lot of Saturday. It's like the same thing, just repeated. It's just shit's gonna get real and shit's gonna start, you know, yapping and gosh, cut that up. Ow, what the fuck was that? Yeah, shit's gonna get real and you know, feelings are gonna get hurt, things are gonna get a little bit disruptive, and we move on. All right, then we get into Sunday. Sunday is the day we've all been looking forward to. This has been a really long weekly horoscope in my opinion, but Sunday's so cool in my opinion. It's very silly. Like Sunday and Monday next week are very silly and fun. And then Tuesday's a little quiet. The moon will go into Sagittarius on Sunday. It will conjoin Mercury in Sagittarius on Sunday. Mars will go opposite Pluto on Sunday. Venus will go opposite Jupiter on Sunday. Mars will then go into Leo, and then the moon squares Saturn. I love it. I love Sunday. Because here's the deal. Like, the astrology happens whether or not you like it. The astrology is going to happen. Mars is going to go opposite Pluto. There is a lot of facing power, corruption, fear in our own lives. But we got to face it. And it's Venus opposite Jupiter. Like, here's the deal, guys. We can make everything in our lives this big deal. And oh my God, this is so deep. And so, or we can just have fun. Like, here's the deal. You got to think of life as like trying to hit on a woman. Like when you try to I got to be perfect. And what am I going to say? It could be scary. You could be scared. But if you just have fun with it and be silly and goofy, it's not that big of a deal. And that's how I look at this. The moon's in Sag conjoining Mercury. Just say it. Just say, hey, I think you're hot. Hey, sugar tits. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't say that. But that would be funny. She probably wouldn't think that'd be funny. That would be funny to go tell your boys that you said that afterwards. But the moon going into Sagittarius just say it. Just say it. Like, what are we actually afraid of here? To be honest, like I don't want to say like shit's not that deep, but this is one of those things where like really the only attitude you have to have about this is like sometimes shit's so deep that it can't be that deep. You know, I heard this saying, again, it's one of these things I've heard a million times, but you know, the Hermosis always got a good saying. And Alex Hermosi said that, Layla Hermosi said that fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. It's not that deep. And I look at this as like, Sunday is this really weird combo of like, ooh, like, woo, like this is a little nerve wracking, but the rest of it's silly. Like the rest of it is silly and the rest of it's fun. And then Mars goes into Leo after, again, Mars goes opposite Pluto where it's like, we actually kind of have to address something really, really intensely. But Venus is opposite Jupiter too, where it's like, let's just have fun with it. Like again, and I also think too, Venus is about pleasure and fun and connection. She's in Sag. Be adventurous, be out there, be outgoing. But she's in Jupiter sign. Jupiter's in detriment opposite Gemini, where Jupiter's like, well, actually, how do I have fun? I don't really know. And it's just like, stop. And the moon is in Sag, by the way, conjoining Mercury. And then Mars goes into Leo afterwards. And I love the transition from Mars in Cancer into Mars in Leo, because it's Mars in Cancer opposite Pluto. And then it goes into Leo, where it's like, we have to face this really intense thing. And then like we do it and we're like, look at me. It was so easy. I had that in the bag the whole time, even though you were fucking petrified. You were absolutely you were shivering in your boots. But the second you did, like, have you ever done that where you're like, you were really scared to do something? I'm a Leo. This is how Leos operate, by the way. We're terrified of everything, and then we do it. You're like, of course I fucking crushed that. There was no other way for me to not crush. I was gonna crush it the whole time. So I just look at, and again, here's the deal. This whole week, this whole week is all this Scorpio stuff, all this Cancer stuff, and we're gonna get all deep, and we're gonna get all avoidant, and we're gonna get all butthurt. But it just comes down to Sunday, and a lot of Sunday is just like, stop being deep about it. Stop being deep about it. Be silly about it. Be fun about it. What are you doing? Like, and again, I think the other thing too is like, what is going on in your life? I'm being kind of goofy right now, but like, what is going on in your life? Look, here's the deal. Look at the world. The world is just as susceptible to the astrology as we are. And the world shows what is going on in the astrology. Now, we have all these wars and this crazy election and what's going on. And, you know, it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. Everyone's like, this is crazy. That's happening in your life too. So what does that look like? And I look at this opposition is like, or I should say Mars going into Leo is really like, you're going to win. But I think Mars going into Leo too is like, you got to go out on stage, brother. You got to go give them a show. The show goes on. And Mars is going to go retrograde in Leo. The show may not go that well. You are going to be challenged. But there's a difference between being scared about it and just having confidence and being silly and goofy about it. Because at the end of the day, it's not that deep. So that's my message for this week, okay? The moon and Sag square Saturn late Sunday night. Know when to maybe lay off. Maybe know when to, put things down. Oh my God, who is calling me? Danville, Illinois. The amount of, and then they just hung up. That wasn't even me. Anyway, so here's the deal. Next week, not a lot's going on. I'm thinking about titling next week's horoscope as All Quiet on the Western Front, because that's just like the vibe of next week. The sun makes a trine to Saturn. Mercury goes into shadow. Oh yeah, that's also another thing. And Venus squares Neptune. I love and appreciate you guys. I'll be seeing you next week.